India, an ancient civilization, is also a young nation that assimilates a diversity of cultures and living traditions. Away from the humdrum life in the Indian megacities lie the mighty Himalayas. These mountain chains in the north, with their steep gorges, sharp ridges and towering peaks, offer a home to several social groups, each particular of the other. Nestled deep in the Western Himalaya in India, close to the region where the rivers Tons and Pabar meet to form the mighty Yamuna, lies the realm of the divine king Mahasu. Mahasu is a generic name given to four brother gods who rule over their territory, and even in the present times, ritually construct their kingdom through majestic processions and elaborate temple ceremonies. Through communal treks in the mountains, the Mahasu divine kings claim space, creating an island of sovereignty that escapes the gaze of consecutive nation-states. The Mughals, the invading Nepalese armies, the British, and even modern India. The fact that the divine king is just an idol, usually hidden from even his subjects' eyes, helps the divine kings avoid the gaze of the predatory nation-states, even as the subjects find opportunities to reassert their faith in their Devata Raja, Mahasu. The Mahasu realm is a kingdom bisected by the rivers Yamuna and its tributaries. Clans and groups living on opposite banks of these rivers organize themselves into rival moieties, tracing their ancestry from the estranged cousins, Pandavas and Kauravas, well-known characters of the 1.8 million word-long epic, the Mahabharata. The deities rule over the kingdom through an elaborate bureaucracy consisting of a chief minister, ministers, priests, accountants, porters, and musicians or drumming bards. The Mahasu deities control and expand their realm through militias or warrior groups known as khunds. The battle preparedness of these khunds is tested in ritualized contests like the archery festival of Bissu. Performed now more as a martial art, these rituals of aggression have found new cultural interpretations through their depiction as precious heritage in national art festivals. Unlike the performative aspects of Bissu, displayed through costume and amplified sound in a festival in the national capital, New Delhi, Bissu, in the high-altitude alpine grasslands, relies on the intensity of the occasion. Deafening war cries, shouting of slurs disparaging clan ancestors, and the accuracy of the arrows aimed at the calves of warriors from the opposing Khund. The ones aimed at try to defeat the intentions of the aggressor by violently shaking the legs, covered with thick wool trousers that have several folds over the calves to protect them from the impact of the arrowhead. The rituals that commence with violent confrontations usually end up fostering unity and communitas. These rituals, while ostensibly being a display of rivalry, are in fact opportunities for people to rise above the routine and the mundane. They help foster unity, since every region, turn by annual turn, gets an opportunity to win in this mock battle and lead the victory dance right up to the village bus. In the realm of the divine king, Mahasu, boundaries are not lines on a map, but represent an ever-expanding universe, with the temple on the right bank of the river Tons at Hanol as its axis. In this, until recently agro-pastoral region, life can be very tough, dependent entirely on the forces of nature, revolving around Devata ka Kam, or duty to the divine. The deities or divine kings constantly process through their territory in regalia befitting royalty, and it is the subject's duty to serve or follow. For the devout, either the divine king summons you or he comes by. But of course, the king, even though a divine and sentient being, is not human. He is, in fact, an idol that seldom reveals itself to his subjects. Mahasu processions are led by his chief minister or wazir, who ensures that the deity is well received and the protocol of hospitality honored. The one task the deity is more often called upon to perform while on state visits is the exorcism of evil spirits that easily plague individuals in these remote mountains. Very often they obstruct his path. Sometimes he placates them, while at others he takes them head on. Possessions and exorcisms are, in fact, deeply linked to Mahasu's regime of healing, justice, and the restoration of social order once it has been disturbed. And having done that, the deity returns in all his regal splendor once again to be consecrated as king in his temple before his subjects, reassuring them of his divine and tutelary presence. Mahasu subjects hold night vigils, sing and dance outside his temple, rejoicing in the protection offered by their deity. Subjects have implicit faith in their divine king's power to combat evil spirits, diagnose misfortune, control weather, heal illness, and settle legal disputes. And indeed, it is this government by deity, run by the divine king, that has helped sustain an ancient way of life that has demonstrated unparalleled longevity. While these events are a collective celebration, a coming together as it were, they are also opportunities for subaltern groups within the realm to register protest. They offer occasions for the hegemonic groups, the Rajputs, to ensure that subordinate groups stick to tradition, while as a result of the nation-state's efforts towards egalitarianism, they also offer opportunities to low-caste Bajkis or Mahasu drummer bards to speak out their minds.
और बहुत का नाम गोविंद है, शाह का नाम बिया शाह, जड़ से है छतरी की बात, का नाम पार्वती, जड़ी बार, जड़, हाँ वही साहब के नाम से क्या जड़ी बार, सब जड़ी बार, ऐसा नहीं, खबरदार ऐसा नहीं। सुनो एसी के बड़ा दिमाग तुम
थोड़ा उन्होंने जरूर हमारे पल्ले डाल
मेरे को बड़ी खुशी है आज कि है बॉस का के जीव दिया मतलब इतना खुश कर रखा हमने।
This voicing of dissent, unthinkable in the past, is increasingly becoming a reality as the nation-state seeks to appropriate Mahasu's protective role through its policies of caste reservations and a promotion of the low castes. Change is in the air. How would the divine king respond to this challenge? To find an answer, we follow the palanquin as it journeys in the mountains to village Chatra that has invited the deity. As is usual during these ritual journeys, the deity has to deal with humans troubled by evil spirits. Some find release right there. To the others, the deity's oracle signals that he would tackle them once he is in their abode, the village. As the palanquin enters the village, it is welcomed by the priests from the village temple. Priests are not permitted to cover their legs in the king's presence. They light incense for the deity as his palanquin arrives. The deity goes around the village as if inspecting his domain. He chides if someone dares disrespect him by climbing a balcony with shoes on, asks for demolition of unauthorized structures, and displays his unhappiness if people litter around. Every contentious issue is negotiated intensely between the Mahasu's oracle and the oracles of the local gods and demigods. Every time the deity takes offense, he needs to be placated. The village elders beg forgiveness, agree to bear the prescribed punishment, or else the deity would go away. Before he agrees to enter his tent and accept the hospitality extended by the host village, he even asks for signs fixed by the government of India to be removed. Mahasu's walking sovereignty is most visible in the village of Shiraji, where the divine king has desired the building of a new temple. Made completely of wood, this masterpiece has taken years to accomplish. Now that the construction is completed, a consecration in the presence of all the deities of the region is desired. This requires immense mobilization of resources, and the absence or discontent of even a single deity or region can render the ceremony inauspicious and incomplete. To begin with, the carpenters who worked on the temple must be honored. They have followed vows of simplicity, eating once a day, staying away from meat and alcohol, practiced celibacy, not even shaving while they built this beautiful edifice to their deity. After this ritual, the head carpenter will finally seek blessings for his own creation. The carpenters will then be ceremonially escorted to their native village by a large group of Kshatriya warriors with drums and trumpets as a mark of respect for their devotion. Meanwhile, in another village, silversmiths are hard at work trying to prepare a palanquin, a beautiful vehicle worthy of their deity's stature. Their king will sit in it to visit the grand consecration. The temple is spruced up even as the invited deities begin their march with their entourages. Chalda Mahasu's chhatra or parasol, the most potent symbol of his tutelary protection to the entire region, is everywhere, rendering the space sacred. The oracle and priest of the deity are, meanwhile, performing their own duties, and through them, the deity, as it were, himself rewarding his craftsmen and sending them off. The deity has now finally decided to assume his seat in their village. Now begins the task of consecration, with the spilling of goat blood in all four directions to ward off evil spirits. Several goats would have to be sacrificed in order to purify the king's abode. For a pastoral society, goats represent the most precious gift that can be offered as purificatory sacrifice for the divine king's palace. The oracle senses the presence of evil spirits, bent upon desecrating the ceremony, as he asks repeatedly for his protective parasol to move around. He asks the drummers to drum even more vigorously, while his subjects must squat on the ground, as the ones standing up are easily possessed on such occasions. Guns have to be fired in a particular direction, from where evil is perceived as entering. After the parasol has chased away evil, the oracle summons the minister, tosses rice into his hands, and announces that the day of consecration has arrived. This marks the fulfillment of a long-cherished dream, and the entire village, once again, breaks out into a spontaneous dance. The palace is now prepared for the consecration, and the divine king will soon adorn it. More and more tents are pitched as the deities arrive to the grand assembly. Commentators busy themselves on the microphone, announcing the arrivals, even as the traditional Hindu Vedic rituals of consecration accompany the dances of the Devadasis, the women of the Deval groups, who have traveled from deep in the mountains for the occasion in order to perform their ritual dance. Volunteers are gearing up as the deities seated in their palanquins continue to arrive. They bend before Chalda Mahasu's parasol and run up the stairs of the temple, as a mark of respect and insubordination. But perhaps most significant is the dancing of the palanquins, as they demonstrate the immense agentive power of the deities that ride them. Finally, the main demigod of Chalda Mahasu, Serkuria, emerges from his tent with his oracle, bearing his sword in a trance. He goes around to meet the deities that have arrived. The crowds have swollen, and as dusk falls, thousands have to be fed and given a warm bed to sleep in. Many, of course, will sleep with their gods in their tents. Today's proceedings have been successful, as with the final flourish, all palanquins have begun to enter the divine king's palace, consecrating the space of their chief deity. The gods and their subjects almost cause a traffic jam. The subjects are ecstatic even as they chant victory to Mahasu. Even as the palanquins come out and encircle the temple, it begins to pour. The gods, it seems, are drenching everyone in their pleasure. And this brief spell of torrential rain is followed by bright sunshine. But elsewhere, another controversy is brewing. Bashik, the eldest Mahasu sibling, has come, but refuses to be party to the celebrations, as he has not been accorded a welcome befitting his stature. Even his subjects, including the former Raja of Dhadi, the human king, has felt left out. He stands at the edge, making his displeasure known. Several gods move to placate him, and when he is finally convinced of everyone's good intentions, he joins the ceremonies. Now, his possessed oracle must meet every deity and report his presence. Even as night falls, the arrivals continue. The next day will mark the formal opening of the temple. Everything needs to go like clockwork from now on. More palanquins, more possessions. And with the final flourish, the Serkuria Wazir, the demigod's minister, climbs up the spire. The Serkuria, an assisting demigod to Chalda Mahasu, is widely known in these mountains as the most clever of all. He is the god who whistles into the night to make his presence felt. Today he has agreed to be the ritual master. He will keep the gods happy and the evil spirits at bay. He displays the king's swords for all to see. Even as the temple is decked with white cloth, all spires connected as if knitting the realm together in one great ritual, fostering unity, creating communitas. The oracle of the deity directs the ritual proceedings, as all Mahasu subjects, from the powerful government ministers to the poorest peasant, come together in a celebration of unprecedented scale. And of course, the sacrifice of the goats, a ritual gift of purification. Some deities and oracles have traveled as far as 300 kilometers, hiking through very rugged mountain terrain to witness this event. The ritual is the meeting ground that charges up the entire kingdom. More sacrifice follows, a mimetic representation of the Himalayan rope sliding ritual as a climax. Earlier performed as a ritual of a human, the Beda, being sacrificed to pacify the weather gods, it is now performed very rarely. Even in its token and harmless form, the performance of this sacrificial rite excites passions amongst the deity's subjects, revitalizing their loyalties. It reminds several people present of the times when it was customary to give the life of a human, usually to end droughts. The old official performing the ritual is honored for his superhuman feat, as he is carried around the temple on people's shoulders. As night falls, everyone heaves a sigh of relief. Things have gone as per plan. The deity has assumed his seat of power. More significantly, he has united his entire realm in one single move for unification. A new day dawns and it is time to take leave. The thousands of visitors will now bid goodbye and walk all the way across the tough mountainous terrain to their villages. Mahasu's parasol meets all his subordinate deities as they dance a final ecstatic dance of victory. Their king has been installed. It is time for those returning home to invite the deity, the walking Mahasu, to their villages. His protective visit to their region is long overdue. The oracle is consulted. He accepts the invitation, albeit with a caveat.
एक पैसा तो बोले तू आ रहे हो कि जेठे नो कान से मिडो वो क्या लगे भाई एक बोला जेठे मंडोल कान से मुंडोल एक बोला जेठे नो कान से संदोर एक बोला जेठो संदोर कान से नो वो कब साहब बाज रहा है बिलाग सुन रहा है ये आप ला दी ना तो मेरे की कितनी पूछवा था कितनी बार आते हैं कल पूछताछ कल क्या बोलता तीन क्या मेरा मन है पूरे करके ये नहीं क्या काम खास बात तो देता समझाइए मैं मेरे एक जाति नहीं सारे
Once the subjects know the deity has accepted to come, they can rest assured in his protection. They have every reason to dance their way back, feeling safe in his tutelary presence, ever under the protective shade of his parasol that reassures them of the divine king's ritual presence. Finally, night falls and the men and women dance a farewell dance that signifies the end of a night and the beginning of a new day. Along the mountain paths, even as the weary Mahasu subjects head back, still steadfast in their ritual duties, the deity's realm has come together under his umbrella in a display of community feeling and devotion.